What's up, everybody? My name is Jason High. I'm back here with another video. Today, for those of you that don't know, is the Major League Baseball trade deadline. So today is actually the last day that any Major League Baseball teams can make trades with other teams. And the Kansas City Royals have made a couple of moves today. They already make the move yesterday to acquire Lorenzen from the Texas Rangers. He is a starting pitcher, Michael Lorenzen. He is a swing kind of guy. We will see what he ends up doing for the Royals, but thus far for the Rangers this year, he's got about a 3.8 earned run average, and he's been pretty good. He started 18 games for them. He's pitched over 100 innings. He's got a history of being a pretty good starting pitcher and a good reliever in past years. This year, we will see what he does with the Royals. We will see how they decide to utilize him. He did not appear in the game last night against the White Sox, which isn't super surprising. He probably was getting his stuff together and flying from Texas or wherever the Rangers were playing if they were on the road, and he was trying to find a way to get to Chicago, where the Royals currently are playing a series. The Royals did come back and win a very exciting game last night, by the way. Bobby Witt Jr. was amazing. He had 4 hits and a grand slam. Those of you probably knew that already. But back to the trades. So yes, again, yesterday the Royals did already acquire Michael Lorenzen. They got Hunter Harvey last week from the Nationals, a relief pitcher. Thus far, he actually hasn't been doing that well. He's only pitched in a few games, but he had some back spasms that took him out of the last game, and he hasn't really found his footing yet with the Royals. So we'll see about those two trades that already occurred. But as far as the new deals that happened today, the Royals acquired a relief pitcher from the Oakland Athletics. I'm going to start with that one first because that's kind of the bigger of the two trades. The guy's name is Lucas Erceg. If I'm saying his name wrong, I apologize, but yeah, he is 29 years old, and he has been a relief pitcher for the past 2 years for the Oakland A's, and he's really been more of a setup man for them. Oakland has this very, very good young closer named Mason Miller who has been amazing, but what I do know about Lucas Erceg, what I do know about him is he throws a 98.8 mile per hour fastball at its peak, so he can throw pretty hard. He's a good strikeout pitcher. He has more strikeouts than he does innings pitched, which is always something you want to see. He does not have a lot of walks. I've got his baseball reference page pulled up right here, and apologize real quick. Yeah, so this year he's pitched in 38 games, okay, so not bad. He's been pretty used, which is good to see. 36 innings pitched, good availability. You want to see that. He's got 41 strikeouts in 36 innings. That's what I was just talking about. That's very good, and a big number for me. He's only got 13 walks, which is huge because the Royals relief pitchers have really had problems lately walking too many guys and letting too many guys on base. Only given up 3 home runs in 36 innings pitched. I love seeing that too. That's great. So he's really been kind of more of a setup man, but like I said, he does actually have 3 saves under his belt so far this year. So he has shown an ability to pitch in those later inning situations. Now I need to say what the Royals gave up, because obviously whenever you trade somebody, the question always is, well, what did we give up? And therefore, do I like the trade? The Royals got Lucas Erceg, but they did trade away. They traded away 3 prospects, okay? So for those of you that aren't really familiar with how these Major League Baseball trades go, contenders like the Kansas City Royals in 2024, I know it's awesome. I'm excited to say it too. Contenders typically will trade away players from the minor leagues to get players from the major leagues that can help their team currently, because typically players in the minor leagues are a few years away from really kind of turning into much. Even the guy that they got yesterday, Michael Lorenzen, they traded away Walter Pennington, who was a relief pitcher in AAA, but he had only had 2/3 of an inning in his career. He was 26 years old. You know, a lot of people liked him. He had good numbers in AAA. We'll see how it plays out. But back to this current trade, yes, so the Royals did trade away nobody from their major league roster. They traded away guys from their minor league system. So they're kind of the headline prospect in this deal was Mason Barnett. He was the Royals' 4th ranked prospect by MLB.com. Right-handed pitcher. He looks like he could be a decent prospect, but he really doesn't look like anything that I think I'm going to be worried that the Royals traded away, especially since Erceg is under club control through 2030, which is also a big, big deal here, that the Royals did not just trade for a rental player. They didn't trade for a player that, for those of you that aren't familiar with the term, rental player means the Royals would have only had this guy under club control for the rest of this season, and then he'd be a free agent next year. That's a pretty common move for teams that are out of contention, like the Oakland A's, to move on from rental players. But the fact that the Royals were able to get back a relief pitcher who's still 29 years old, so he's under 30, he's still in his prime, he's got a couple years of big league experience, and he's under club control for 2030 at the trade deadline is a big deal. So back to what the Royals gave up. They gave up Mason Barnett, they gave up Will Klein, who's another pitching prospect, and then they gave up Jared Dickey. Will Klein, you may have heard of him. He did pitch a little bit for the Royals last year. So, yeah, I mean, he's got some big league experience, but it was not very good. His ERA was above 6. He didn't pitch a lot. So, like I said, Mason Barnett is probably the centerpiece of this deal. He was a third-round draft pick in 2022 by the Royals. He's already 23 years old, and he's only pitching in Double-A. So, again, for those of you that aren't quite as familiar, typically when you trade away prospects, the younger that they're performing at a higher level of either the major leagues or the minor leagues mean that player probably has a better chance of projecting into a good player. And so seeing somebody who's 23 years old and he's done okay in Double-A this year, I got his stats right here. He's done okay. He's been a starting pitcher in Double-A, which is good. You like to see that. But his ERA is almost 5. 4.91 earned run average as a 23-year-old in Double-A. I don't think the Royals are really going to miss that guy. And they're certainly not going to miss that guy this year. He wasn't someone that was probably going to be able to come up and help the Royals this year. That just wasn't very likely. And the Royals right now are chasing a playoff spot. The Royals right now are actually in that final wild card spot. They're 1 game ahead of the Red Sox, and they're 1 game behind the Twins for the second wild card spot. So they're in it. They're very much in the thick of it. So this is very much a move that I love for the Royals because you're trading away guys that you don't necessarily expect them to be can't-miss type prospects. So again, Mason Barnett was the 4th-ranked Royals prospect, but I think that really is it says more about the state of the Royals farm system and how it's just still not a very good farm system versus it does that Barnett is a guy that the Royals are really going to regret moving on from. So anyways, I just want to talk about that. I want to talk about what you gave up because I think pretty much with any trade, you want to look at what you give up, but you also want to look at what you get in return. You don't want to get too obsessed with these prospects. I've kind of been harping on that I have believed that the Royals should be going for it this year. They have shortened this season down to where there are less than 60 games remaining, and the Royals right now are very much in a playoff spot, and they're very much in the playoff race. So I believe in this team. I think that this team is good enough to finish with 86 to 88 and maybe even 90 wins if they can get hot, and I think that can get them into the playoffs. Adding a guy like Erceg is going to really help that. Like I said, he's got closing experience. He's got setup man experience. He strikes out hitters. He does not walk a lot. He throws 98 miles per hour, and he's under club control for a long time. 2030 is fantastic to have him for that long. And also, if you're worried about what the Royals gave up in a trade, what I would counter with is that a guy like Erceg very much looks like a player who is on his way up. He looks like someone who is ascending and has a potential to actually increase his value in the future. So I would go ahead and say right now, I think it's very likely the Royals, if they wanted to, if they didn't make the playoffs this year, let's say they were bad next season and this year was kind of a mirage. I hope that's not the case, but let's say that is what happened. You would be able to then trade Erceg again later, assuming he stays healthy and performs as well, if not better than he has this season. So I love that trade for the Royals. Okay, we're going to get to the second one. Breaking news from today, Paul DeJong comes over from the Chicago White Sox. Yes, those very same Chicago White Sox that the Royals beat last night and are playing today in Chicago. So Paul DeJong comes over. He was a longtime St. Louis Cardinal. Paul DeJong is a decent player. I like this trade for the Royals as well. I got his stats pulled up here too. This season, he's got 18 home runs, which actually leads the Chicago White Sox. I like that. He's got some power. He's a shortstop by trade. He also plays some third base. So he's a versatile guy. I think that the Royals are probably going to be looking for him at third base because Maikel Garcia has kind of struggled this year. He's got some outfield experience in his career. I like to see what can happen with him. I take that back. Excuse me. He does not have any outfield experience. He does have second base experience. So he's very much a middle to corner infield player. I think the Royals wanted someone who could play the outfield. Paul DeJong is not that, but I think that's okay because of the way that Hunter Renfroe and Melendez and Isbell have been performing. I think the Royals are okay with that. So yeah, the Royals got Paul DeJong today. Thus far this season, he has an OPS right about 700, which OPS means on base plus slugging. For those of you who aren't familiar with that stat, OPS is kind of typically used as one of the best measures to evaluate a hitter. And so for reference, an OPS of 700 is about 50 to 60 points higher than Maikel Garcia has been this season. It's about 40 points higher than MJ Melendez has had this season, and it's about the same as Hunter Renfroe. So if you're looking at what the Royals might be getting from DeJong, he's a 31-year-old player. He is a rental. So as I was saying earlier, he is not going to be under club control beyond this season. That's okay. The Royals are not picking him up because they like his long-term prospects as a player. Paul DeJong, quite frankly, the last couple of years has not been a very good he's not been a very good player in the sense that, let me pull up his standard batting. Yeah, last year he had a 700 OPS with the Cardinals. Then it dropped precipitously after that, and it ended up at 612. He got traded to Toronto and then San Francisco. So he was actually on 3 teams last year. So do not expect Paul DeJong to be a star. I do not expect him to be. But I do think that he's a player that comes over, can give you some depth, can lengthen your lineup a little bit. If he can continue the way he's been hitting this season, he will represent an upgrade over some of the players maybe like an Adam Frazier or a Garrett Hampson or a Maikel Garcia. And yeah, I like that trade too because the Royals only gave up a minor league relief pitcher. The guy's name that they gave up was Gerald Rosado. And Gerald Rosado is 21 years old, and he is in A-ball, and he was not ranked in the top 30 Royals prospects on MajorLeagueBaseball.com. So that's a player you don't mind giving up. That's very much a lottery ticket type player. We will see what happens with him later, but to be honest, I don't really care, and I think we're all going to forget his name here in about 2 days. If Paul DeJong comes here and helps the Royals get to the postseason, the trade will have been 100% worth it, and nobody will ever worry about it again. And that's the way you feel about Erceg as well. Erceg, like I said, very excited about his control. That's the biggest thing with him is that he is not a rental player. You will have him until 2030 if they want to, and that is very exciting. So yeah, I love these trades for the Royals. The Royals are going for it. I felt like they should. I know that they've slumped a little bit the last couple months. They've been actually an under 500 team. But they still right now are 9 games above 500. They're only 6 games back of the division in the Central, and they are in one of the final playoff spots. And as you Royals fans know, all you have to do is make it to the playoffs. So I'm very excited about these trades. If they add anyone else significant today, I will come on here and I'll post another video. The Major League Baseball trade deadline, again, is today, and it ends at 5 p.m. So we've got about an hour and a half to go on the trade deadline. I suspect they're probably done. I wouldn't be shocked if they maybe added one more player, but I think if they did, it's going to be a Paul DeJong type player. So yeah, anyways, that's it for me today, everybody. Go Royals, and thank you very much. We'll talk to you again soon. Have a good one.